Okay, guys, here we go again. Right, today we've got another one in my Hugo Award winners project. I'll just briefly explain, as usual, for anybody not familiar with this particular project. Way back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, I used to read a lot of science fiction. I read a few novels, but it was mainly short stories for one reason or another. And when I got back into it, around about 18 months ago, I decided that I would redress the balance by reading some novels. Now I could have picked, any number of novels, but I decided to go with the Hugo Award winners. Could have been the Nebulas because they were very similar, but I just went with the Hugos, and thinking that probably be the pick, the creme de la creme, if you like, of novels. Now, I should say at this point that I've been giving you some duff information. The Hugos, I've been saying that the Hugos were awarded by the Science Fiction Writers Association of America. I can't remember. Anyway, they weren't. It was the World Science Fiction Organization. It was the Nebulas that the WFSA did. So I like to get that right. And secondly, these are just my impressions. It's not a review of these books. It's just my impression of the book and how I thought about it. Give it a mark at the end. Okay, last time we did one book by Isaac Asimov. Now this time I've decided to complete the big three, as I call them, by adding a book by Arthur C. Clarke and Robert A. Heinlein. Now, I have to say before we start that I've read about 30 Hugo winners now, and I've got to say I've been sort of unimpressed by many of them. I don't know whether it's just me growing older or technology moving on, but a lot of the novels I've read have not excited me too much, let's put it that way. So with that in mind, this is the first book I read, Arthur C. Clarke, Fountains of Paradise. I forget which year this won the Hugo. It's gone out of my mind. Anyway, not to worry. Right, the basic setup of this book is a man called Vannevar Morgan. He's a structural engineer, basically. And he's built a lot of bridges on Earth. And he decides that he'll build a space elevator, for want of a better term. And the idea is to get stuff up without having to use rockets, which are time consuming and costly. And this elevator would take bits and pieces up to wherever in orbit. And basically, the plot of the book's fairly straightforward. And there's a bit of history involved, which kind of ties in. And then most of it is just the problems that Morgan has to overcome before he can get it built. Now, I'm not going to, as usual, I'm not giving any spoilers, so, there's not much more I can really say, apart from there's a lot of technical stuff in there, which you expect from Clarke. But yeah, that's the basic setup. I think the idea is to use this elevator to get further out. I mean that's all I'm prepared to say really about the plot. Now the actual book itself, I've got to say I found it a bit tedious, quite honestly. A lot of the engineering lingo I didn't understand, which is never a good basis. That's why I'm not overly fussed about hard science fiction, because quite honestly I don't understand most of it. I don't understand the physics or the engineering involved in a lot of this stuff, and certainly don't understand the mechanics of the elevator itself, which is weird. Yeah, I mean, I read Childhood's End by Clarke many moons ago, and I enjoyed that. And I've been disappointed with Rama and this book, which both won the Hugo, of course. I prefer Childhood's End, which won nothing, if I don't remember. Clarke, I think it's generally acknowledged that Arthur Clarke is not the best writer in the world. It's his ideas that sell his books, I believe. And as I say, I was not enamoured of this at all. I nearly fell asleep part of the way through. But I managed to get it finished anyway, to my credit. It's not a short book. I mean, it's fairly small print, and it goes on for 250 pages. The only good thing about it is in one of these nice SF Masterworks editions that I like. That I'm always telling you can get two of these from HMV for £7. I enjoyed the look of the book more than the actual content, quite frankly. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being average as usual, excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. I would only give it a 4, quite frankly. So that's Mr. Clarke. Right, now we move on to Heinlein's book, Double Star. There again, I've read 2 of Heinlein's books, both in this program, actually, both in this Hugo project. I recently read Space. Oh God, I forgot the name of it. What is it? Oh, this is shocking, man. Yeah. Anyway, I've read 2 of his novels recently, and one was okay, and one wasn't. So I came to this with a bit of trepidation, and the setup here is that there's an out-of-work actor called Lawrence Smith, or Lorenzo Smythe is his stage name, aka the Great Lorenzo. And he, as I say, he's not had much luck. He's down on his luck work-wise. And he gets approached by a space pilot to do a job, impersonate somebody. And one of his talents is impersonation, and he doesn't know quite what he's letting himself in for, because he gets kidnapped and sent to Mars, where he's told that he will stand in for a prominent politician. Now, in the story, solar system's been colonised, and you've got sort of like a world government, if you like, a sort of solar government, if you like, that covers all the planets, or the inhabited planets anyway. And it turns out that this politician has been kidnapped, and they want him to stand in. which he doesn't want to do at all. But and they persuade him in the end, and he's got access to these files that this politician kept on people, so he was able to bluff his way through a lot of conversations with people, and a tough job when you think about it. And it follows his journey through having to impersonate him in the lead up to elections, which he's hoping to win. And that's all I can tell you, because I don't want to give away the ending, but there's a strange ending to it. So that's when the double star comes in, He has to double for this chap. I can't remember the politician's name, weirdly, and I've only just finished reading it. And that's the basic setup anyway. Not a complicated plot by any means. Now, as I said, the other Heinlein books I've read, I wasn't too fussed about, but enjoyed this one. As I say, the plot's not dense, but the plotting's good. The dialogue's good, actually, and Heinlein doesn't throw too many of his political opinions in there, which he normally does with his books. And yeah, I mean, the character of Lorenzo Smythe is well fleshed out. I like a book where you're following one character, normally in the first person, of course. And yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a well-written, well-plotted book as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to say anything that will give any spoilers, but there are a couple of little twists and turns in the plot that make it interesting. It's not a long book. It's large print, and it just runs to just over 200 pages. So it's a lot shorter than many of the books I've read lately. And incidentally, I love that cover. I don't know why it appeals to me, the green background and the business with the mask. Because he's had to transform himself into looking like this guy. And this is another one of those nice masterworks. The only trouble is I bought this as online, and it's more or less a reading copy because it's ex-library and its spine's all bent out of shape, so I'll just treat it as a reading copy. Yeah, so that was the two books that I read. Can't say much more about either of them. I would give Double Star solid 8. Yeah, it's not good enough to be up there in the 9s and 10s, but certainly a lot better than average. So yeah, I'll give it an 8. As I say, I don't know whether to have a rest from this project for a few weeks, because as I say, I'm definitely underwhelmed with a lot of this stuff I'm reading, and it's a chore, to be quite honest. I did buy a short book recently that won a Hugo, so I might dip into that and see if that's any better. But when I look at all the contemporary books I've got, they're all 1 million pages long, and I haven't got the stamina at the moment to read them. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I may or may not be back with the next instalment anytime soon. But thanks for watching this one. Thanks for subscribing as usual, and try and share if you can. And that's about where we are. So I will see you with something or other in the near future. Bye-bye now.